On April Fool's Day, the whole school got sucked into this bizarre, rules-based horror game. Don't believe a word anyone says. But you can trust text messages. You can trust your roommates, but be careful. These few short sentences made me stop and think. I glanced at the date and realized it was April Fool's Day. It had to be a prank by my friends. But no one could have imagined it would turn into such a horrifying disaster. At midnight sharp, an anonymous text message suddenly popped up. Don't believe anything anyone says, except for the contents of this message. Don't tell anyone the truth. If you absolutely have to, don't say more than 3 true sentences while the rules are active. You can trust your roommates, but be discerning. The rules will update every 3 hours. Please check for them. Welcome to the Creepy Rules game world. The game lasts for 1 day. Break the rules, and you die. I'm a huge fan of novels, and my favorite genre is rules-based horror stories. But these creepy stories are just fiction. How could one be happening in real life? This has to be someone's prank. I ignored it and went back to scrolling through short videos on my phone. Then I heard Cindy, from the bed across from me, make a confused sound. Huh? Who sent me this text? Maybe because we didn't have an 8 a.m. class the next day, the other 3 in the dorm room were still awake. You got it too? From what Cindy said, it sounded like she'd gotten the text too, so I quickly asked. Yeah, it's so weird. Do you guys think this is someone's prank? I was just about to go to sleep, and then this text popped up. Who would be bored enough to do this? Whatever, I'm just gonna go back to what I was doing. The words had barely left her mouth when Cindy started making these awful, choked whimpering sounds. I quickly looked up from my bed toward Cindy's. I saw Cindy struggling, her body contorted in an extremely unnatural way. Her mouth seemed to be forming words, but no sound came out. Finally, Cindy just fell straight back onto her bed and stopped moving. My other 2 roommates, Wendy and Gina, were also scared stiff, both gasping out loud. Wendy was especially frantic, asking, Cindy? Cindy? What's wrong with you? Suddenly, I remembered the rules on my phone. The rule said you couldn't tell the truth, and if you had to, no more than 3 sentences. This wasn't just don't tell the truth, this was basically don't talk at all. Did just those simple 3 sentences count as breaking the rules? I suddenly realized I'd also said something just a moment ago. I quickly grabbed my phone, wanting to send a message in our dorm group chat to warn the other 2 about the rules. It said not to speak the truth, but it didn't say you couldn't text the truth, right? Guys, don't say anything. I think these rules are real. When I finished sending the message and looked up, I saw the 2 of them still frozen in place, looking completely terrified. Gina, who was always the timid one, was even crying and whimpering in fear. And outside the dorm, screams were erupting one after another. It seemed like a lot of students had already met a terrible fate. I wanted to tell them to check the group chat and communicate there. But unfortunately, I couldn't say anything. I was just about to gesture for them to look at their phones when Wendy actually got up, wanting to check on Cindy. Luckily, Wendy's bed was right next to mine. I jumped up, stopped her, and pointed to my phone. Wendy finally got it and quickly started typing on her phone. Gina caught on too, stopped whimpering, and picked up her phone to look. Me, what on earth is going on? This can't be a prank anymore. Wendy, but if it's not a prank, what is it? And what about Cindy? What happened to her? Me, we might have actually entered one of those creepy rule game worlds. Wendy, are you kidding me? You read too many of those stories, Sue. Gina, Sue's right, we're definitely in a creepy rule game. While we were discussing in the group chat, we kept looking up to check on Cindy. Cindy hadn't moved at all since she collapsed. Even so, none of us dared to go over and check on her. Wendy, should we call the police? We don't know what's wrong with Cindy, and I'm really scared. But I'd already tried calling the police, the call wouldn't go through. Me, it's no use. I already tried, and it wouldn't connect. That's why I'm even more sure we're in a creepy rule game. According to how these games usually work, people inside the game area can contact each other, but not the outside world. At that moment, the class group chat and various school-wide chats were blowing up. Who the hell is messing with me? If you've got guts, show your face. Damn it, this has to be someone's prank. You guys better not break the rules. My roommate already died for breaking them. Are you kidding me? It's true, 2 of my roommates are dead too. There was a moment of silence in the chat, and then it exploded again. Extreme fear and shock kept us from falling asleep, even as it approached 3 a.m. As I was scrolling through the school-wide chat, I suddenly got a message in our dorm group chat. Wendy, I really can't stay awake any longer. I'm going to sleep. Me, don't sleep yet. It's 5 minutes to 3. The rule said they update every 3 hours, let's wait. Wendy thought about it and seemed to agree, so she replied okay in the chat. At 3 a.m. sharp, ding. A new text message arrived. Congratulations, students, on successfully passing the first round of the Creepy Rules game. Total school population, 45,386. Remaining, 24,349. The rules are now updated. The RA will not do room checks after midnight. If an RA comes for a room check, do not open the door. You must be asleep before 3 a.m. Violators will die. No dorm room will have more than 2 people. If there are more, it means some of your roommates are no longer human. Don't let them discover you. You need to stay away from them and kill the extra people. Continue to avoid speaking the truth. Everyone has 3 chances for mistakes, but note that these 3 chances are for the entire duration of the game. Not all rules are true. Please discern carefully. The game continues. Happy April Fool's Day to all players. What the heck? Must be asleep before 3 a.m.? Then what about us, who are reading these rules right now? But it's already past 3, and nothing's happened. Is it just not time yet? No, wait. The last rule says not all rules are true, so this one might be fake. After all, the 3 of us in the dorm are all awake right now, and nothing strange has happened. I stared at the newly updated rules, lost in thought. Wendy and Gina were the same. We all tacitly avoided saying anything in the group chat, probably because of the 3rd rule. The rule said not all of them were true, so no one could be sure if the 3rd rule was real or fake. If it was true, then who wasn't human anymore? At least I still have my own consciousness. It couldn't be me, right? So, between Wendy and Gina, who wasn't human? I was just about to send a tentative message in the group chat to ask, when suddenly, there was a loud knocking at the door. Thump, thump, thump. It scared me so much I jumped and sat bolt upright in bed. First, Gina sent a message in the group chat, should we open the door? The chat was silent for a long time. Neither Wendy nor I said anything. The knocking outside got louder and louder. Actually, it wasn't really knocking anymore, it was more like someone was banging on the door. Room, check. The banging was accompanied by the RA's shrill, slow voice, which sounded even more terrifying in the dead of night. Thump. 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 Open, up. Room, check. The 3 of us still didn't move, apparently hoping the RA would get tired of knocking and leave on her own. But things didn't go as planned. The RA's voice outside got even more piercing. Shouldn't we open the door for her? Gina couldn't sit still any longer and sent another message in the chat. But the rules say if an RA comes for a room check, we shouldn't open the door. The banging outside made it hard for me to think straight, so I quickly replied to Gina. But Gina immediately pushed back, firing off messages in the chat, but just waiting isn't a solution. Her knocking is so loud, and her voice is so scary, I'm about to die of fright. Besides, didn't the rules say not all of them are true? What if the first rule is fake? Maybe if we open the door for her, she'll just do her check and leave. At this point, I was starting to suspect Gina. Just as I thought, Wendy was also starting to suspect Gina. Sue, don't you think Gina's acting weird? Wendy, who hadn't said anything for a long time after the rules updated, sent me a private message. You think so too? Yeah. I mean, she's usually so timid. Whenever something like this happens, she'd already be crying her eyes out. How can she be so calm and articulate her opinion now? I felt the same way as Wendy. Even though Gina was currently sobbing and covering her ears in fear. This calm analysis definitely didn't sound like something from someone who was terrified out of their mind. But the RA constantly banging on the door wasn't a solution either. So, I tried to calm Gina down in the group chat. How about we get out of bed and go to the door to check things out first? It's probably best not to open it rashly. After all, the RA sounds terrifying right now. She might not even be human anymore. Both of them agreed with me. So, we tiptoed out of bed, and the three of us quietly moved to the door. The dorm doors were plain, without peepholes, so our only option was to look through the small window at the very top of the door. Who's going to go up and take a look? I asked in the group chat. I'm scared, you two go. Please. Gina quickly replied in the chat. She even added a cute cat emoji, her favorite one. But no one wanted to stick their neck out. So we decided to play rock paper scissors to decide. As usual, my luck was the worst, and sure enough, I lost this time too. I had no choice but to bite the bullet, step onto a stool, and look outside. But the horrifying scene I imagined wasn't there. The RA looked the same as always, just a bit slower in her movements. Her banging was a little stiff but rhythmic. The RA seemed to notice I was watching her. She stopped what she was doing and looked up in my direction. She still had her usual smile, but it looked a bit stiff. You, guys, are in there. Why, won't you open the door for me? The RA's shrill voice came from outside, followed by even more violent banging. I was so scared I stumbled and fell to the ground. My two roommates next to me quickly helped me up. Gina pointed at the door. I didn't understand. So she took out her phone again. Well? Should we open it? No. Even though the RA isn't as terrifying as in the stories I've read, she's definitely not normal. But who would have known, right after I sent that message, Wendy suddenly pulled the door open. My eyes widened in terror. I rushed to close the door, but I was a step too late. The RA had already pushed her way in. She stiffly turned her neck, looking around our dorm room. It's almost morning. Make sure to rest early. Is everyone here? Why, are there only 3 of you? The RA's eyeballs rolled around twice, her pupils completely disappearing under her eyelids, leaving only a creepy, terrifying white. My legs were shaking uncontrollably from fear, but I didn't dare say a word. Ma'am, our other roommate is sick and not feeling well, she's lying in bed. Wendy said this while pointing to Cindy, who was lying on her bed. Okay. Then you all, rest early. After saying that, the RA stiffly turned and left the dorm, even pulling the door closed behind her. Still shaken, I collapsed onto the floor. I noticed Gina beside me, already in tears from fright. I quickly typed on my phone, "Why did you open the door?" At Wendy. Because I think you have terrible luck, so if you said not to open the door, it meant not opening it was definitely the wrong choice. That's why I opened it. Besides, her just standing there knocking wasn't a solution. We had to risk it, right? Wendy, who was usually so cautious, had made such an incomprehensible move in a life or death situation. Gina was still sitting in the corner, sobbing. Usually, when I saw her cry, I'd go over and comfort her. But today, thinking about those rules, I chose to ignore her and went back to my bed. I opened the text message again and read it over and over. Gina was naturally a timid person. Suspecting her at a time like this made me feel a little guilty. And the first rule said if an RA came for a room check, definitely don't open the door. But we just opened the door and nothing bad happened. That means the first rule was fake. Does that mean I really misjudged Gina? Thinking of this, I quickly opened my chat with Wendy. Wendy, did we misjudge Gina? It looks like we've proven the first rule is fake. Does that mean all three of us are still normal? As soon as I sent the message, Wendy is typing, appeared at the top of the chat. In less than 10 seconds, Wendy's message came through. Are you dumb? Not all rules are true, doesn't mean only one of them is fake. What if two are fake? What if they're all fake? Wendy's words were like a wake-up call. Right. How did I not think of that? You're the smart one. I had just finished typing my message, but before I could send it, another message came in from Gina. Sue. Don't you think Wendy's acting a bit strange today? I suspect she's not human anymore. Gina messaging me was something I absolutely hadn't expected. If Gina really wasn't human, then I had to do my best to pretend so she wouldn't notice anything was off. I was just about to reply to Gina with something non-committal when another message from her popped up. Sue, I know you don't believe me, and you even suspect I'm not human. Even though I usually cry when I get scared. But my mind is still clear, and I try my best to think of strategies. You should know that about me, right? But Wendy, she's usually so indecisive. She's the kind of person who used to agonize for ages over what to eat. How could she be so decisive today and just open the door for the RA? Don't you think so? Gina's words actually made a lot of sense. Wendy was indeed usually hesitant, always needing to think through every possible outcome. Her behavior today was completely out of character. For a moment, both of them sounded convincing, and I didn't know who to believe. Sue, if you don't believe me, go ask Wendy and see what she says. But be subtle. If she really isn't human and realizes we've figured her out, that would be bad. Gina sent me another message. Okay, I'll try. So I switched back to my chat with Wendy. First, I sent the message I had already typed. You're the smart one. But Wendy, why were you so impulsive and just opened the door like that? Seriously, you scared me to death. I tried to talk to Wendy in my usual chatty tone, afraid she'd notice something was off. Didn't I tell you? I think you have bad luck, so I didn't listen to you. That explanation sounded a bit far-fetched. Also, why did you just speak out loud earlier? We only have 3 chances, you know. Wasting one means one less. What's there to be afraid of? It's not like I was telling the truth. Why are you asking so many questions? Are you suspecting me? I flinched and quickly typed a reply. No, I was just curious. You know me, I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, and I ask a lot of questions. After hearing that, Wendy didn't press the issue further. I couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Come to think of it, everything Wendy said earlier was a lie. Thinking about it, I excitedly typed in the group chat, oh yeah, we can communicate using lies. That way we can actually talk. After I sent it, Wendy didn't miss the chance to mock me, just figured that out, genius? Idiot. But just then, Gina sent me another message. Are you crazy? She's trying to get you to talk. When we're just typing, we're less likely to impulsively speak. But if we start speaking lies, we might accidentally let the truth slip out without thinking. If we use up all our chances, we're dead. Gina actually had a point. My two roommates were saying completely different things. I started to not know who to believe. Or maybe, both of them were problems. But anyway, Gina was right. If we started talking, we might accidentally say something true. Thinking of this, I replied in the group chat. Let's just stick to typing. It's convenient enough. Almost instantly, Wendy's message came through. Don't you get bored just typing and not talking? It was like she knew what I was going to say and replied immediately. My resolve began to waver, and I started to lean more towards believing Gina. Before I could really think it through, a new set of rules updated. I then realized it was already 6 o'clock, and the sky was light. Congratulations, students, on successfully passing the second round of the Creepy Rules game. Total school population, 45,386. Remaining, 11,589. The rules are now updated. During this round, do not open your eyes. You must close your eyes before 6:10 a.m. During this round, you must eliminate any roommate who is no longer human. Otherwise, you die. Non-human roommates can break the rules. Please ensure your own safety and prevent assassination during this round. No matter what sounds you hear, do not open your eyes. You may only open your eyes after the next round of rules is refreshed. What the hell, what kind of messed up rules are these? I cursed inwardly. Just then, both Gina and Wendy sent me private messages. Gina, what do we do? This round we can't type on our phones or talk. Closing my eyes feels so unsafe. Wendy, watch out for Gina. Seriously, what was with these two? Didn't anyone suspect me? Or were they also privately messaging each other, suspecting me? But it was already 6:08 a.m. I ignored both of them, closed my eyes, and lay down on my bed. The whole world seemed to fall silent. There wasn't a single sound from outside. Maybe this was what a creepy rule game world was like. You couldn't even hear birds chirping. Sue, why did you talk to me? Hearing someone call my name, I instinctively wanted to open my eyes and answer. Then I suddenly remembered the rules. No matter what sound you hear, do not open your eyes. But this voice, it wasn't Gina's, and it wasn't Wendy's. But why did it sound so familiar the more I listened? Cindy? How could it be Cindy's voice? Sue? Why did you talk to me? It's because you talked to me that I died. Why? Cindy's voice was as shrill as the RAs in the previous round, but her words were clearer and sharper. The voice initially came from a corner of the dorm room, but as the sentence was repeated over and over, it became clearer and clearer. Eventually, it felt like someone was whispering right in my ear. The sharp voice made my eardrums throb painfully. I could even feel the warmth of a human mouth as the sounds were produced. Even though I really wanted to cover my ears, or even open my eyes and throw whatever was speaking next to my ear away. But that was just a thought. Extreme fear kept me from moving a muscle. My mind raced. Didn't Cindy die? How could there be warmth? I thought to myself, then suddenly felt ridiculous. If she was dead, she couldn't even talk, let alone have warmth. It must be a monster imitating Cindy's voice. The voice moved between my ears. Maybe because I didn't react. I heard a sound like a gust of wind, and then there was silence. But then I felt a cold, slimy touch on my feet. I shivered in fright, instinctively wanting to open my eyes and sit up to see. But I couldn't. I could only let that disgusting sensation move around on my feet. It lasted for about 10 minutes or so, then the disgusting touch disappeared. It was strange, this monster only kept trying to provoke me into opening my eyes to look, but never actually did anything further. It seemed that as long as I didn't break the rules, the monster couldn't do anything to me. Just as I was thinking this, a sudden scream shattered the silence in the dorm. It was Gina's voice. Gina was always like that, she'd scream when she got scared. Ah. What is this thing? What are you doing? I desperately wanted to know what was happening, but I couldn't open my eyes to see. After Gina's scream, there were some whimpering sounds, and then silence. Finally, all that was left was a creepy chewing sound. Time ticked by, second by second. Extreme fear and frayed nerves kept me awake, even though I hadn't slept all night. With my eyes closed, time seemed to pass even more slowly. Fortunately, the rules finally updated. Ding! The sound of a text message. I could finally open my eyes. But what I saw was a scene that would terrify me for the rest of my life. Gina's eyes were wide open, her face etched with terror, as if she had seen something incredibly horrifying before she died. Below her neck, her body was mangled and covered in blood. Her stomach was caved in, her internal organs seemingly completely hollowed out. Even the walls and floor were splattered with crimson. I looked at Wendy. Her face, like mine, was filled with horror. I quickly grabbed my phone to contact Wendy. What caught my eye were the newly updated rules. Congratulations, students, on successfully passing the third round of the Creepy Rules game. Total school population, 45,386. Remaining, 5,896. The rules are now updated. Do not speak. If your roommate died in the last round, she must have been the bad one. You can trust your roommate. There are no classes today. All players, do not go outside. Please remember that today is April Fool's Day. The game continues. We wish all players an enjoyable game. What did that mean? Why did these rules seem even harder to understand? Sue, did you see the rules? The second rule, if your roommate died in the last round, she must have been the bad one. Our guess was right. Gina really was the bad one. But I felt like something was wrong, though I couldn't figure out what it was, no matter how long I thought about it. In the end, I just gave Wendy a perfunctory reply, "That's great." But, was it Gina who died, or the bad one who had become Gina? If so, where was the real Gina? I couldn't make sense of it, so I continued to study the rules. Just then, Wendy got out of bed and started packing her things. Where are you going? Oh, I'm hungry. Going out to get something to eat. Wendy stammered, not giving a clear reason. I pointed to the book in her hand and said, "Do you need a book to eat? Are you going to class?" Hearing my barrage of questions, Wendy's face instantly fell. What do you mean? Do you have to control what I eat too? But Wendy was my best friend. Before, whether it was class or meals, we were always together. Then why are you going to eat without asking me? And haven't you seen how powerful these rules are? The rule said no classes today and not to go out. Why are you still going out? And you're taking a textbook. Are you actually going to class? Anger flashed across Wendy's face, but she seemed to be trying hard to hide it. The two of us were silent for a long time. After a while, Wendy said, "Well then, come with me." Never mind, I'm not hungry, and I don't want to break the rules. Fine, then I'm leaving. With that, Wendy didn't give me time to react and quickly left, leaving me standing alone in the dorm room, stunned. The more I thought about it, the more something felt off. Wait, in my panic just now, I actually spoke directly to Wendy, and she spoke back to me. So why am I okay? Does that mean the first rule is fake? And why was Wendy, who was always so cautious, acting so rash and decisive today? Even in a life or death situation, she dared to act on her gut feeling. That wasn't like Wendy at all. I took out the text message and read it again. Do not speak. If your roommate died in the last round, she must have been the bad one. You can trust your roommate. There are no classes today. All players, do not go outside. Please remember that today is April Fool's Day. Please remember that today is April Fool's Day. So, are all the rules fake? I spoke and nothing happened, which means the first rule is fake. The second rule, if Gina was the bad one, then none of us attacked her, so how did she die? The fourth rule, no classes today, do not go out. Then why was Wendy insisting on going out, and even taking a textbook? All of this pointed to the rules being fake. That means we still have to go to class today. We only have one class this morning, starting at 10:10 a.m. But it's already 10 o'clock. If I don't leave now, I might be late. But I was still hesitating. This was just my subjective judgment. Was I right? For a moment, I found it hard to make a decision. Watching the time tick by, I realized I had to take the plunge. I couldn't just sit here and wait to die. I grabbed my textbook and quickly rushed out of the dorm. It was 10:04 a.m. I had 6 minutes left. The academic building was about 800 meters from the dorm. If I ran fast enough, I should be able to make it. I ran desperately across campus. It was completely silent outside, not a single person in sight. I started to doubt if my judgment was correct. But I had no other choice. I could only run towards the classroom as fast as I could. Finally, in the last minute, I ran into the classroom. There was only one person in the classroom, standing at the lecturer's desk. It was none other than Wendy. I didn't expect you to be so smart, figuring out the rules were fake. But in this creepy game world, only one person can survive. Do you think I'd let you off easy? Wendy's face was grim, completely different from her usual cheerful self. I was so scared I stumbled backward, tripping over something. My head seemed to hit the corner of a desk, and then I lost consciousness. When I woke up again, the pungent smell of antiseptic filled my nostrils. I opened my eyes and found I was on an 4 drip. "You're awake, Sue." The speaker was Gina. I shivered in fright. I wanted to speak, but my throat was too dry. I couldn't get a word out. When I sat up, I saw Cindy was there too. So, what just happened? Was it a dream? Once I felt a bit more stable, I started asking Gina and Cindy questions. "Where's Wendy?" "Well." They exchanged a look, an awkward expression on their faces, as if there was something difficult to say. "Sue, don't you remember?" I didn't understand. Seeing that I genuinely seemed to have no memory, Gina let out a sigh of relief and said, "It's good you don't remember. You don't need to know. Just focus on getting better and being happy." But curiosity drove me to find out. After pestering them relentlessly, they finally told me the truth. It turned out I used to have a boyfriend named Calvin. But then Calvin cheated on me, and the other woman was none other than my roommate, Wendy. When I found out, I confronted them, but they both denied it. Finally, under my repeated questioning, Calvin admitted it. And he declared that he loved Wendy and didn't love me at all. Then he dumped me and went abroad to study with Wendy, the two of them together. After that, I kind of lost it. I became erratic and unstable. Until one time, I was walking on the street and ran towards an oncoming car. Luckily, the driver braked in time. I wasn't seriously hurt, just fell into a brief coma. And that so-called creepy rules game world was just my consciousness struggling while I was in the coma. But when I woke up, I seemed to have completely forgotten Calvin and had no memory of my connection to him. The doctor said it was selective amnesia. But isn't forgetting those awful people from the past a good thing? At least now I'm mentally stable, no longer erratic. I don't have to grieve over those terrible people and awful things anymore. Isn't that a good thing? People come and go. Life's too short to get hung up on things. Later, I was discharged from the hospital and went back to the dorm. There were only 3 of us left, but we were incredibly close. We all received our grad school acceptance letters and headed towards a brighter future.